Today was a good day for RPG lovers everywhere. During the Nintendo Direct of all things, today, the 9th of June 2026, we had some absolutely bonkers announcements. I focused quite heavily on Square Enix games, as you probably know, and I was not disappointed at all. We finally got a release date of December the 3rd for the new Dragon Quest Monsters game, a game that was also revealed early this year, so it wasn't a massive surprise, but we got a release date for that. I personally found the previous Monsters game to be pretty charming. It's not something I admittedly put many hours into, but I'm looking forward to trying this one out. So December the 3rd for that. That's a pretty good release time, honestly. I don't know what else is happening in December. In contrast, though, this next reveal blew me away. Final Fantasy Resonance. This is a HD2D Final Fantasy game releasing on October the 22nd this year, 2026. This then is a remake of the mobile game Brave Exvius, a game I never played, made into a fully fledged RPG released for consoles and PC on Steam. The biggest problem I had with many of the Final Fantasy mobile games has always been the gacha elements, and honestly I don't really like playing on my mobile phone that much. I personally dislike the gacha model, and it's always put me off from potentially enjoying some great games. And from what I hear from other people, that Brave Exvius was pretty great story-wise. So to see it get the Octopath Traveler 0 treatment, which was another game that started its life as a mobile game and recently got remade into a frankly fantastic RPG on consoles and PC that I really enjoyed, I'm pretty stoked to try this one out. Seeing the big open world map and chocobo and airship travel throws me all the way back to the old games, and more recently, of course, the Pixel Remaster series I absolutely loved. So I've often mentioned that I would love a turn-based Final Fantasy HD2D game, and honestly, that's what I thought Octopath Traveler has been for me over the last few years. But I guess my hopes were answered with this reveal, and I really hope it's good. I guess we'll find out in October, but I think there's a lot of people everywhere who were a fan of Brave Exvius that are cheering out now because their game was taken from them, it was shut down, but to know that they're getting a single-player RPG version of that remade from the ground up in HD 2D, that must feel pretty good, and from an outsider perspective, I am definitely down to play that. Next on Square Enix agenda was the reveal of the Kingdom Hearts collection. This is all of the games native on modern consoles, they say specifically. So on the first Nintendo Switch, the Kingdom Hearts series unfortunately got a cloud-based format where you had to stream the games from a cloud, and depending on your connection, that was an experience all of itself. But now it seems that you will finally be able to have the physically downloaded games native played on the consoles this time around. And I know there was plenty of discourse about the original decision to only have the cloud versions of the games. I'm pretty glad that Square Enix have listened to the fans and put this together for the Switch 2 audience. As far as I know, this is not going to be available on the Switch 1. You would actually have to have a Nintendo Switch 2, I believe, to play this version. But all of the games native playable on the Switch 2, that's pretty good. And there's a reason for that, because they want people prepared for what's next, and right after that collection was announced, they did something that nobody could have expected and gave us a Kingdom Hearts 4 trailer. Yeah, it exists. There's no release date given. They do show some actual gameplay as well as CGI stuff, and this is presumably recorded on the Switch 2 system. They didn't actually mention here, but we are told this will release on everything simultaneously on all major platforms, including PC, which is wow. There's plenty to read into with the characters shown and the combat and some of the plot with the narrative and narration here, but it does look pretty impressive, even if this might be the lower end quality version of what this might look like if this is indeed Switch 2 footage. And for a while now, fans have been worried that there has been such silence about Kingdom Hearts 4, that Honestly, a lot of people were worried this got cancelled or had to be reworked or something, but to know that it does exist, and to see Square Enix break their silence on a Nintendo Direct of all things, something I think many of us were expecting to see it like, I don't know, like the Summer Game Fest streams or something like that with Jeff Keighley, but no, here it was. Surprise, Switch 2. But the fact that it's releasing on everything simultaneously, is that potentially the reason why this has had such a delay, like in terms of talking about this? It has been many years since we knew about Kingdom Hearts 4, and they have drip fed us to the point where it's just a dry drip at that point. So maybe that's the reason. It takes a lot longer to port things to lots of different consoles, especially when you do as much, performance testing as Square Enix do. If you look at the Final Fantasy VII series of remakes, those are pretty well optimized on like Steam Deck and Switch, etc. So maybe it just takes a lot more time to get something to the quality that you want it. But it is kind of cool to see that they've given them native versions of the Kingdom Hearts collection and then preparing them for a simultaneous release on the Switch 2 console, as well as everything else, including PC, all at the same time. That is big news. It would have been nice to see a release date, but maybe that's something we won't see for a while. Maybe that's something we see at the Tokyo Game Show. And then lastly, from Square Enix, we saw a small sort of sizzle reel of games featuring only a few seconds, but it's a few seconds nonetheless, of footage of the Switch 2 version of Final Fantasy XIV, which is coming August this year, showing some footage of combat and areas in the game that we can recognize here, but it's still just a little teaser. I think it's pretty likely that we will see more of at least Final Fantasy XIV on the Switch 2 at the Tokyo Game Show 2026, which I believe takes place from the 17th to the 21st of September, which of course would be perfectly in line before the August, testing and release of 14 on the Switch 2 console. Aside from Square Enix games, we saw some incredible reveals that I personally think are incredible. A new Zelda remake of Ocarina of Time, which apparently releases sometime this year. It was only a very small little trailer there, little teaser. That is so exciting. I didn't think that would be the next sort of thing they would do. Ocarina of Time is a fantastic video game, and to see that they're working on a remake of that, oh my goodness. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of speculation, but what I showed, that little cutscene, pretty mind-blowing indeed. There was also a new Xenoblade game revealed called Xenoblade Genesis. So this is a series I've never played, but it does look gorgeous, and I would personally like to try that out. There are apparently also 3 new Xenoblade Chronicles Switch 2 editions, so they're getting the Switch 2 editions of 3 other games. Fire Emblem Fortune's Weave is getting a release date of the 17th of September this year, so September is absolutely just being ignited with releases right now for Switch 2. And then we get information on the Duskbloods, which is FromSoft's a sort of like Bloodborne-esque PvPvE multiplayer game, which is getting a network test running this summer, so probably in September, right? Sometime in that, probably in that window. There was some pretty amazing stuff from this Nintendo Direct. Like, I'll link it in the description for you to go watch the VOD again. But as usual, my attention was immediately brought to Kingdom Hearts 4, which blew everyone away. Like, it looks incredible. I really wish we could get to see more, but that's just the case of being drip-fed information for so long, and hopefully we start to see more information on that. Maybe Tokyo Game Show will be the release date of that. Maybe we'll get some announcements there. Can't wait for that. But maybe that's looking at a 2027 sort of job at this point. And of course, Final Fantasy Resonance, a game that affirms my belief that if they put anything into HD2D, I would be immediately down to play it. Imagine if this then, since they say, quote, the first HD2D Final Fantasy game, end quote, wasn't the last? Personally, put Final Fantasy VI into HD2D as a remake with voice lines from Dave Wittenberg and a full-star cast, maybe get Ben Starr in there as well or something like that. I would happily throw my wallet at whatever platform you want me to play that on. But yeah, having remakes and HD2D versions of those could be very exciting. So I hope it sells well, and I hope it's good, right? So yeah. So were you excited by any of the games shown during this Nintendo Direct? Let me know. I cannot wait to see what else comes out from this year's announcements. I have a feeling that we're not done yet, but Honestly, so far it's felt like one of the best fake E3 moments the last couple of weeks we've had in a very long time, combined with Summer Game Fest and the Nintendo Direct and the State of Play and the Xbox Showcase. There's been bits from everything that I've been like, damn, I'm actually excited for that. Anyway, let me know what you think about it. Super hyped for Kingdom Hearts, obviously, and Final Fantasy Resonance, which is something I never expected to see. But yeah, very excited. Much love. I'll see you all next time.